will always have a little introduction, how it all started, where we are right now, what I'm trying to achieve. That makes sense because not everybody was there from the beginning. And also it makes sense because we are, I won't say meandering, but we're changing our direction. So here's the webinar run. And it initially was just Hugging Face because look, here was a new revolution. And it still is a revolution, but the attention, the public attention, has shifted away from Hugging Face to OpenAI. But I will tell you one simple thing. Hugging Face is for developers, really only for developers. OpenAI is for the whole world. Just yesterday, I read that when OpenAI started as a company, they grabbed people from Google and from what was Facebook, now Meta, and other places. Well, that's because you, as a reporter in New York Times, need to write about something. Of course, they grabbed people from there, and it's a story in the Silicon Valley. They are all in one place. They all go from one company to another. So that was not a big thing. But the big thing was that they wanted to do something good for humanity. Now, as opposed to, maybe we'll start a little bit of a diagram to emphasize who is who and what do we do there. So let's say who is who. And let's see if it allows me. If not, then I'll just yeah, I was afraid of that. This funny thing is upside down. So let's put it this way. This will be Hugging Face as a company because it really is well known as a company, and their library is also called Hugging Face. However, the company called OpenAI is a company, but it's mostly known to most people as ChatGPT. And GPT stands for generating something, something. In other words, it's not very good acronym, and therefore people know it just as ChatGPT. So what's the biggest difference? I want to make it a bit wider. Yes, company is OpenAI, ChatGPT is the product. It's because this is for developers. Definitely. If you give me another example, good. If not, developers know it, but I think not. So for developers. And this is for humanity. Okay, which means that they have a large pool of computers. I think it's in the tens of thousands right now because lots of people from humanity, 8 billion, maybe 9 billion people, they should live great, but they are all into this thing. Okay, and their goal was to do something good for humanity. That's exactly the goal. Now, Google said, don't be evil. And by now, I think they dropped it. But at least it was something nice. And now this OpenAI said, let's do something good for humanity. Again, just because they want to do something good, it's not necessarily that it will work out. And there are enough people who say that AI is very dangerous, but that we will leave that for journalists and science fiction. Now we need to do something practical. So let us continue. We started, and you can still redo all the previous sessions by themselves by giving all the materials. So if I click here, materials for the students, that's open, you will see that that was the original course that I taught to, well, it's Cisco. I'm not maybe supposed to say it, but this is Hugging Face, all the materials for Hugging Face. And this is deep learning, which was meant really as a history overview. Well, it went well. Surprisingly enough, I'm always nervous about what the students will say, but this time they said 4 and 5, and therefore I taught another time, and now I'm kind of free to roam, and I'm teaching OpenAI in April. I'm teaching um, another course on Hugging Face in April, and I'm even given the privilege to do quantum computing, even though you guys said we don't want quantum computing, so our series continued. Now we started, okay, resending the link. So when I did this webinar the very first time, just telling you what I taught in the course, I'm giving you away all the materials, which are open and free anyway. You can find all the tutorials on Hugging Face, for example. You have the tutorials, that's my labs for Hugging Face, but pretty much you can use theirs. I also mentioned that there is a book, but Hugging Face is trying to make it easy for absolutely everyone. And book or no book, you can do it. And then you guys said that would be nice to let's get together, let's work on it together. And for a while we did this. And I think we recorded every one of them. For a while we did this. I showed you how you can run Hugging Face. And I will show you basically how you can run Hugging Face and then what other things you can do. To run Hugging Face, you just go to Hugging Face like this, Hugging Face call. Okay, and I'm logged in. If I were not logged in, I would be greeted with all the models, and I'm checking the chat once in a while. Okay, quantum labs, since you asked, is something that's possible for normal people. And I am having a webinar on Quantum Face next week. So our AI webinars, they are on Friday, but Thursday will be there and you will get, because you're on the same lists. No, it is available everywhere, but I agree, Vijaya, that that's quite amazing. I mean, the terms that they use in quantum computing are like teleportation, that is obviously from science fiction movie or science fiction books and other terms. But however, it is real. You know what convinced me that it is real? Very easy, and it will convince you as well. You just search on cost of quantum computing. IBM cost quantum, IBM quantum cost, okay? And you will see that the cost is $60 per runtime second. Well, that was what convinced me. It must be real if people are paying $60 per second. But then on the other hand, quantum computing is how you compute. The hardware is separate, so you pay $160 for real hardware. But there are enough emulators, and you can start with IBM emulator, which is called Qiskit, and that's the only term that I mentioned, and that is where I stopped talking about quantum computing. So let's go back. Okay, now from now on, I will have to, yes, I will try to explain it as best I can, everything, but I don't promise that I will read the chat. Rather, if you want to ask something right away, just speak up, because I enabled everybody. Let me verify that I enable. Yes, let me finish enabling everybody to chat. And I apologize. that I don't know how to enable everybody for chat. Now, in that case, you can ask me, but I have to continue. So this is Hugging Face. And if you come here, you will see that Hugging Face collects models. This is 140,000 models. That's an awesome lot. That's the one that people usually begin to use. And as you can see, 46 million downloads. Now, why? Why is there that many millions of downloads? That is because every time I run a model, it downloads the pre-trained model first. That's how, not that everybody, 48 million, read that, but 48 million use it. Then you go into the model itself, and it allows you to play with it. Not as sexy and nice and convenient as humans. I mean, the humans wouldn't get around here. They would be a bit scared. But what it says that I can fit where it says mask, I, the model, and the model is bird case uncased. I, the model, can give you a good substitute. If I click on compute, it really computes. The reason it's so fast is just because it's cached. So the goal of life is life. That is the famous answer that quoted from the wife of Theodore Roosevelt, even though she was not a philosopher, and it's not such a deep thought. Survival, love, freedom, simplicity. Now we're getting somewhere, but now let's try to do something else. Let's say the capital. Let's do something a bit harder. The capital of Texas is, and now we have to be very precise in the way you spell it, mask. There you are, and the capital of Texas, because I'm in Texas, okay? Couldn't get it, that's because I didn't put the dot, period. Let's do it now. Well, not perfect. Austin is really the capital of Texas, but it also gave me Houston, Dallas, Galveston, and Orange, which are all cities in Texas. In any case, that is what Hugging Face does for you. Now let's go back. Let's go back and let's keep being on track. I'm closing this. I'm going back to here, our exploration. And what we did is, meanwhile, OpenAI just appeared on the scene. I need to show you this trends on Google, how it appeared, even though you probably saw it. But let us see. There was this Hugging Face, and it was happily going up. You see, was happily going up until OpenAI appeared. And it almost doesn't matter if I put ChatGPT OpenAI because Google equates them. And it went up tremendously, you see that, and left Hugging Face in the dust. Well, no big surprise. Hugging Face is for developers, as we said, and OpenAI, its goal is to do something for humanity. So we accordingly, we're very interested in OpenAI, and we started doing OpenAI. And last time, we went through the OpenAI tutorial. And that is where we discovered that, yes, it is combining efforts with Microsoft, the biggest investor, but the tutorials, they leave a little bit to be desired. And that's where we keep investigating. That's where we are today. And the plan today is to talk about ChatGPT as if you were talking to babies. It is possible. There is one guy on Amazon who writes books like Quantum Computing for Babies. That's how I discovered that. And the Quantum Entanglement for Babies. I was surprised even using that term because that doesn't sound like for babies. And he explains it for babies so that they will grow up just like our children. They grow up with the phone and a very natural. They don't talk about that being magic. Money buys magic, and the kids are with the phone. So if the babies grow up with quantum computing, they will say, "Oh, sure, sure. My dad told me about quantum computing, and no more surprises." Not even the question that we asked in the beginning: is it real? Yes. So that's the plan for today. The plan is to introduce us to quantum computing. To ChatGPT and OpenAI, and then talk to ChatGPT a little bit, because everybody can do it. That's not a big deal. And not everything that I have on this plan we are going to do today. For example, we will not talk to Bing GPT. There are stories about how people talk to that, but you need to subscribe to Access, and I'm supposed to get an email soon. So that's not there. The plan is then to fine-tune ChatGPT, because ChatGPT supposedly you can tune and add your knowledge. And I want to create Kid GPT. I even reserved the domain kid-GPT. It was easily available. The next step will be, if I'm talking to kids, what would I tell them? Remember, kids are very smart. I would say this is what ChatGPT is. Rather than you just talk to it, you talk a little bit about how it works, and then how you can tune it. That's something we want to do. And maybe not today, maybe we'll tune something else. We'll tune ChatGPT with the help of Hugging Face. But that we more or less will do today, and at least I'll show you where's the lab and how it will start. And then, if you're a kid, I will tell you exactly how we created the Kid GPT. In other words, how did we take ChatGPT and added kiddie knowledge to that. Okay. Obviously, it talks about adults, and we haven't come to adults. So adults will be a little bit deeper, but that's the plan. Well, if that is the plan, let us start. Let us start, and I see one quick second. So how can you access ChatGPT API is a good question, and I think we'll touch on that today. Fine-tune your iGPT, yes. And we'll talk, let's do this. Let's talk about what we talked today, and then you will still ask questions. And then I have questions and answers. Google link again. So let me give you that same link again, because if you join later, you don't see it. So therefore, here you are. Okay, good. All questions answered. And I'm closing this. And let us first listen to the book. Now, there is no book for ChatGPT for babies, of course, too early. But there is a book for neural networks for babies. It takes about 2 minutes to read. And that is a recording of someone reading this book on YouTube. So that's good enough for us, because the whole book is 24 pages, but only 8 pages are displayed on Amazon. So let's listen to that. And we should be hearing it all together.
This is a ball. And this is a neuron. It sends messages throughout your body. Give the neuron input and output, and it can help us learn. Give the ball input and output, and it acts like a neuron. The neuron can have one input and one output, or many. Is there a red animal in this picture? The neuron can decide based on its input. When the neuron has an answer, red, it sends its own message, red, red, red. Does this animal have 8 arms? The neuron can decide based on its input. When the neuron has an answer, 8. It sends its own message. 8, 8, 8. Where do the messages go? Neurons talk to each other. They connect together in a network. Input neurons look at parts of the picture. Input neuron, input neuron. These are the parts of the input picture. And the output neurons have answers about the picture. Is this a red starfish or blue starfish or yellow starfish? Neurons in between don't see the pictures or give answers. They're hidden. How do the hidden neurons learn to decide? Training data can have correct labels on them. This is a yellow starfish with 5 arms, and this is a red starfish with 5 arms. This is a green starfish with 7 arms, and this is a blue starfish with 8 arms. Now we can classify. After training, the network has learned to label new pictures. What is this? This is a yellow 5-armed starfish. A really big network can solve even harder problems with the help of computers. And now you know how neural networks work. Alright, that was it.
Okay, that was it. Now you know how the neural network works. And let me address some of the questions on the chat. I will, as I promised, not pay attention to them until the end. Okay, so we saw how easy it is. Now, how do we talk to ChatGPT? That is right here. Okay, for that you need to be logged in. Let's log in, and I'm logged in with my Google account here. Oh no, it needs the password. So I'll get the password. That's because I was preparing on another computer. I'm getting my database, and I'm opening my database. And I'm getting inside the database. And I'm searching for my account. And that's my account. So I'm copying the password, which is the right thing to do when you're doing a demo. Don't show the password necessarily, but instead show it like this. And lo and behold, I'm in. And this is by the way, that's good that I'm only now logging in. It gives me all the warnings, all the explanations, and it says that you can say anything now. Sometimes it suggests questions, but we're interested more about, want to know about ChatGPT. Very nice. And it says, I'm happy to tell about myself, I'm ChatGPT, and so on. And you can tell it to stop politely generating. That's what you can do. Now, if you want me to ask some additional questions, I will. But of course, I'll give you that link. It is also on the webinar link. So I'm chatting to you this link. And you're welcome for the book. And I'm glad that you see all of the mechanics of how it is inside. Okay. So I hear you guys, and that's not the idea. So now you need to mute yourself. And if you don't mute, then I will try to mute you. Okay, it worked, huh? So look at that. Okay, I could continue and talk to it, but for that you have lots of reporters. I'm not going to tell you how many amazingly naive or incorrect reports there are, so let's not go there. But instead, let's go and continue. So that is how babies understand this neural network. That is how we can talk to ChatGPT. And currently, we cannot talk to Bing GPT. You need to be on the list for that, and eventually we'll do this. The idea is that we will take the ChatGPT or some other model and train it some more so that it can answer kids' questions. That's the idea. We'll leave it for later. So now let's talk about when we're talking to kids, what can we offer them? Because they're really interested in how it is done inside. So first of all, what is ChatGPT? I will briefly mention it's a simple idea. It's a neural network, right? A neural network can be seen right here. If you go to playground right here, playground TensorFlow, it's right here. And you probably saw this. If you didn't, I will let you play with it on your own because I'm avoiding something that you can do anyway. Let me chat this to you right here. So you can do that. And let's go back. Let's go over here. You see those neurons. You can add neurons layers and you can add neurons too. And that looks pretty much like what we saw in the book. Now, put yourself in the position of the baby. Baby says this, and he says, of course, I know that from my kindergarten teacher. In fact, I taught my kindergarten teacher. Okay, that's the reaction of the baby. But even though ChatGPT is based on neural networks, but it is based on a special kind of neural networks. Why do you need this? Well, let us open the playground just once more here. And please note that you have all of these connected between all of that. In other words, this neuron is connected to all of these neurons. This neuron is connected to all of these neurons and so on. That's a lot of connections. By the way, the connections carry some weight. That's the essence of the neural network. You see, I'm mousing over and it gives me the weights. That is training a neural network. Let's say you want to train neural network to distinguish if the point is in the circle or if it is not. I was lucky, it found everything that it needed by adjusting those weights. That's trained the neural networks. But how many neurons does the picture have? Or in other words, how many pixels does the picture have? Well, probably thousands left to right and thousands up down. Depends upon your phone. So there will be thousands of neurons. That's okay. We can do thousands of neurons, but the connections are a problem. You take 1,000, you multiply by 1,000, that's already a million connections. Well, that's too much. So instead of doing this, they invented a special kind of neural network that's called convolutional neural network. That is too hard to represent, but essentially it's like filter on the phone. And since on your phone there are filters, you're very well familiar with that. And that worked pretty well for pictures, but it didn't work for text. And then brilliant people, and people like to emphasize that brilliant people are all over and they all worked together. They invented a new kind of neural networks. I'm skipping a few and I'm coming to transformers. So in other words, if we go back to our, let's close that. to our webinar. Then here we are going to use transformers. And in fact, everybody is using transformers. So that revolution started just a few years ago. I really want to type that word transformers, but it doesn't let me. Maybe now it will. Yes. Transformer neural network. So you will be able to search for that and find that it's pretty hard to understand and explain. For now, it's enough to know that transformers are neural networks. And some nice people, and that is Hugging Face, implemented a library which made it extremely easy to work on transformers. So you see how I'm jumping between ChatGPT and OpenAI and Hugging Face, but they're using the same kinds of libraries, transformer libraries, except that Hugging Face made it really nice for the human programmers and ChatGPT made it very nice for humans. So then you do this. You want to know, well, how do I deal with that as a programmer? I am not a journalist. I don't want to talk to ChatGPT and relay this conversation in my article. No, I want to actually take the model and people talk about fine-tuning the model. Now, the easy way to explain it is you send a kid to school and the kid learns English. That is ChatGPT transformer. And by the way, the kid is reading books. That's how he learns. And for an exercise, the kid, he or she, takes out some words, and now the test is, can you put them back? So that is basically how it works. You get yourself a ChatGPT and it can talk. Now, we know that the limitation of ChatGPT is, first of all, that it is trained on somewhat old data. That is, I think 2020, 2021 maybe, but it doesn't have an idea of the latest events. And that is you can overcome. That's not a big deal. Another thing about the ChatGPT, it's trained on all of the world's data. And my personal opinion that the majority of humanity is quite average. So it is an average intelligence. That's not where it is strong. But you can at least, even though you cannot create a genius, but you can at least fine tune it. You can now, the example that ChatGPT itself gives is that is how you can figure out other humans talking about baseball or football. That's the example. And that's what we did last time. So if you look at these links, it shows you how that is being done. When we were doing that, there was something that we found. We found that the manual of ChatGPT is extremely incomplete and it hides more than it reveals. Nevertheless, there is a OpenAI, again, authored by OpenAI repository. And I will show you that repository. That's my own copy of that. That's an open cookbook. And that is a fine-tuned classification, where you find out that there are so many details going in fine-tuning classification example, for example. You take a ChatGPT model. You use OpenAI libraries. Deep inside of OpenAI libraries are transformers. And then you add more data, and now it can figure out the ordinary human conversation, which is not an easy thing to do because not everybody understands particular references. American talk about, I don't even try because I also don't distinguish between baseball and football. But it does with this training. That's where all the details are. I ran that lab, it runs. So that is real. but it's not easy. So let's go back. Let's look at a different example of training, fine-tuning the model. And that corresponds in our example to you sending the kid to school, high school maybe, where he or she learns English or another language. And then you add knowledge. Like in this case, the knowledge was about sports. Now, in that example, the knowledge will be something else. And that will be a reference to uh, a lab. Okay, so I know that I skipped over some of the questions that you asked. That I will leave for later, but now let's go to the lab that tells you, okay, take a model. That model, train it now by giving it some more data and see if it can now answer your questions. Okay, let's do that. That at least is a little easier, at least to me, it looks a little easier. And not only that, I prepared virtual machines for those people who want them. The virtual machines are found right here. It's abbreviated as VM. VM. It says it will be given to the students. What that means is you need to go to the folder. That is the folder. These are the virtual machines. And I prepared just a few. If you need more, I'll be happy to demonstrate how you can create a lot using Terraform on Amazon, but at least you can grab these. And the way you grab it is by putting your name here, and that's all. You all can write. So you can put your name here. And what you do is this. I'll show you that one. I grab that machine. So you copy the IP and open it in another tab. That's your sandbox. Now you click on access. It wants a password. So the password is found right here. And that's the password. Now something didn't quite work, and I suspect I know why, because it's a lowercase I. You grab this password. And then you give this password here. And lo and behold, it works. Now I'm surprised, guys. We're all friends here. Why nobody's grabbing machines? Maybe you can't. And right, maybe. Well, let me open the chat. No, nobody says that they can't. These are very big machines, by the way. Let me show you. That's T2 and 5 or some other such thing. So if I get out of here of Python, I already opened Python. So I can do Control D, David, and get out of here and show you that that machine has probably 8 CPUs. Somewhere it says how many CPUs it have and how much memory. So it is a pretty powerful machine because we will use it for training. So at least that, okay? So let's go back. Let's open Python. Now, these machines also have everything pre-installed on them. That's why I'm offering them to you. They have Python and they even have the Hugging Face labs. And my goal today is show, at least the beginning, show you how you would start training a fine-tuning model. So therefore, let's go back here, right? And we opened from the webinar, we opened our lab. Too many tabs, but we'll find it. Okay, that was our webinar, and that was our lab. We open the lab. So let's go there. And that is how you tune a model. Now, which model? That's what you will put in here. How do you tune it? That's what the code will tell us. And let us just start. Now, I'm promising not to watch the chat. Yes, the VM link is in the materials, but I will give you the VM link again. It's right here. I'm putting it on the chat. And previously, I offered you 20 machines and there were no takers. So now that there will be some takers, and if there is more, then I will start more. It takes a few minutes to start more. You simply run that same script again, but give a different number of virtual machines. And it doesn't erase the old ones, it creates additional news. So that's the smarts of Terraform. But here we are. First of all, it says that if you have not done that, then include that. Let me verify that it's there. I copy that, I go to the virtual machine, and I'm using the copy paste operation. For that, I need to open the clipboard. So I open the clipboard and I paste this operation. And after that, it's already on the clipboard. So I can close it and I can paste it here. And there you are. Oh, that's because I'm in Python. So I'm getting out of Python. Now I'm saying install this additional library, which really should be there. Let's see. Now, one thing about everything prepared for you. Everything prepared for you, yes. That's not an empty machine. It has everything installed. But somehow it takes a few seconds. You see what happened? It was thinking how to do it. So please, I apologize. That's the plus of pre-installed things, but a few seconds to start. Okay, let's go back to our lab and explain what I'm going to do and what I will really do. So first of all, that assumes that you already did something else before. What did you do? You loaded the data right here. So without much explanation for today, we copy all of that and we load the data. We also load the model. It's BERT base uncased. What does that mean? BERT is the famous model from everybody, was introduced in a paper by Google. And at this time, Chinese researchers have created another model, which was called, I believe, Elmo. It was called by the name of another Sesame Street doll. After that, if you wanted to compete, you had to call your Ernie. I think it was called Ernie. You had to call your model some other Sesame Street doll, and BERT was okay. That stands for bidirectional B, bidirectional. T is transformers, and ER I don't remember, but that really is just a marketing thing. So you do this model. So that's what BERT means. What does base mean? Base came out because there was a huge model, kind of real BERT, and a little BERT, and there was almost no difference. In other words, that was the first experiment where they tried, okay, all links later on, when they tried the different sizes, and at this time, size didn't matter. But as we know now, the OpenAI uses models that are hugely bigger than this. They are in the billions of neurons, and they claim at least that size does matter. That's what the base means. not very large model. And uncase simply means that there is no difference between uppercase and lowercase. There's another one case where there is a difference. That's what you do here, and you prepare the data. That we did in the previous lab. However, I'm redoing this especially for us who start from this lab. Let's do this. I can copy all of that. I can go to the virtual machine. And where did my virtual machine terminal go? That's very strange, but of course, not a big deal. I can open it again. I prefer this black kind of terminal. So here we're saying Python, and we are pasting. Now for pasting, I really need to put it in there like this. And it could be that somebody grabbed my machine, because there you are, you have the username and the password. You can have everything. Maybe that's what they're doing. We will not be upset about this. It says you're copy pasting multiple lines. That's okay. And that will take some time. Meanwhile, while it's taking its time loading the data set, I'll talk about what else will happen in this lab. Here. So here we're loading the data and essentially doing the previous lab, preparing for fine-tuning. First of all, we need the model itself, and we're getting it pre-trained. Now that will work even if you are not logged in into Hugging Face. The last steps of this lab will require to be logged in into Hugging Face, because here I'm reading open data sets. In the end, I will be saving the results, and I'm saving it to Hugging Face. Now I will define the training set, and from then on, everything is clear, at least in the sense that everything is commented. So you create the model, you create a trainer, and you do additional training. That's why it helps that you have C5.x large machine. That means lots of processing power. And you see, even with that machine, it takes about 10 minutes, I think. So that's, I pictured the first percent going on. Then it keeps going. And in the end, it is completed the training and you get your model. Don't forget to save it. That's a joke, because the model will be saved later on in this particular lab. So now we evaluate and get, we hope, better prediction, compute the metrics. And right now the accuracy is 0.88. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm certain that it was lower. And even though this 88 is not that much either, for that I would need a bigger machine and more training. Later on, we'll go into more details about that, but that's an overview. So with training again, and then more results. And that is where we upload it there. So more results are coming, but that's basically how things are. So after I upload, I can see, this is my version. It's Hugging Face, all right, but it is my model. So I can go and open it to my page. And that is the previous experiment where I got this model. And the model was fine-tuned for entity name recognition. Okay, and since I didn't create any good model card, then the card is empty. So you see, that's really the creator. I can try that. And it should come up with the answer that Wolfgang, okay, Wolfgang is German and Wolfgang is English. And Berlin, both should be detected by the model as special words, entities, but it's honest now. It's downloading the model and making it work. It's not cached. So let's give it just a little bit. Okay, it says we found it. We found Wolfgang, and that's PER. That PER is an abbreviation. I don't know what it stands. I like their own abbreviations, but obviously that's a name. And I live in Berlin. Look, at least you can understand that's location. Well, let's go back to what we're doing, and we'll have a few minutes for questions. So that was our lesson today. And we looked at a book, very nice book. I think everybody gained from that, looking at the book. Then we decided, oh, we can talk to ChatGPT, and we did. And then you can find more than thousands articles on people talking. But we went more into left what we want to do for future, and we want to know how. Now, we explained a little bit of how we did it. That's how you create a ChatGPT or another model like BERT, and how you can share these models, how you can download them, how easy it is if somebody gives you the code, but at least the code doesn't look too complex. And that KitGPT is also in the future. That's what we did. So we ran on real virtual machines. And if I go into the virtual machines, I don't see anybody assign their names and running, but that's okay. You know, at least everybody got the choice. Now,
It's actually not right access there.
Oh, you couldn't write, but you
Definitely.
could use.
Okay.
I'll check and I'll fix that for the next time. But obviously, what you're saying is that yes, you use them, right?
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, and I'll fix that, and I will stop the screen share, and I will. The first thing what I will do is look at the chat. Okay, no access. I'll fix that. You don't have the GitHub links in the labs. That is also terrible. And that I should check right away. We were looking at this lab here. Okay. And wow, it's private. I am sorry. Too bad. Let us do this. Let us open it. Change visibility to public. I think I know what I did is I cleaned all the other labs. We have too much open. And I close the next one. As a compensation, what I will do is I will keep those machines up for a couple hours because it wasn't fair what I did. And I will make sure that is all open. Now, the virtual machines should be open, all right. Anyone with the link, but not a viewer, an editor. That way, you will be able to write here. And as far as the, I'm closing now. As far as the labs, I just opened them. So everything should work. That I totally don't know what that is. Okay, but I stop the share, and we have some time for questions and answers. And mostly, how do we continue? I'll tell what I want to do, go a little bit deeper into those were brushed over. But you suggest, okay, can you explain a little more about the hugging face? Oh, great, great. It is, Varshal, it is like a gift for AI models, exactly right. It is not free, um, because eventually you're using some resources, but it is very cheap. So then if you're using nothing, they won't get much, but eventually it will want a credit card. Now, another thing is that talking to ChatGPT, there is a special subscription which I got. So what it gives you is more availability. That's all. So when we were talking to ChatGPT, we were using an enhanced version, which comes with $20 a month. And since I wanted to be sure that it is part of our discussion and should be available, that's why I bought that subscription. Okay, now things work. I'll keep those machines up for a little bit more, couple hours. And on your side, if you need more, just tell me. Okay. And maybe you don't have any suggestions right now, but perhaps you can email. Surely you have my email. I'm sure that it is also on the webinar run at the very top. Yes, and therefore we can communicate. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody. I think today we had a bit more interaction than last time. And I'm continuing with the major goal is learning more. I'm learning together with you. And I'm also telling you what really is not there, because it's very easy to think, oh, ChatGPT will do everything for me. But when you go and try to figure out what the manual says, it's incomplete. And I did it. I tried to go through that. It's really incomplete because I found the complete version, and that was the lab, and it was much more complex than the original. So I'm more or less giving you correct information about what's real and what's not, and we'll continue next time. I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Yeah, see you. Okay, I wish everybody a good week. Okay, me. I'm Mark Kersner, and the easiest way is to say, here's my LinkedIn, and here's my link, and I'm putting it on the chat. Maybe the first thing that I do is go at the top of that webinar, and in addition to my email, also give you my LinkedIn. So you're welcome to connect. Now, I will also put it as I promised on the chat. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, and be well. And I'll see you again next time. I see a couple questions and answers. Google Doc link. Well, just in case I give you, that's the one that you need. I think it's a different one, maybe. So there you are. That's the answer. Oh, more about Hugging Face. Hugging Face has an interesting history, and you can Google that. They came up with essentially ChatGPT initially, that would be a sexy teenager talking to other teenagers, and that didn't go well. So they dropped the idea, but instead they created a Hugging Face library for developers. So they changed. They started from humanity, or at least part of the humanity, and they continued talking to developers. OpenAI started talking to humanity from the very beginning. And that library became extremely popular. Hugging Face is the library, just like the transformers are the neural network. And that's where it is right now. But since OpenAI came on the scene, it's accelerated. It's even faster. That's why we meet every week, because something new happens every week. All right. Thank you, everybody. Everybody will get a link to the recording, so all will be well. Thank you and goodbye.